Si l'aviation ne parvient pas.
Just because the apocalypse is here doesn't mean you can't look and feel your best. My exclusive kaiju harvesting and preservation process can provide you with all the kaiju organs, tissue, and bodily fluids you need to lose weight, look younger, beat cancer, prevent heart attacks and strokes, cure insomnia, reverse balding, treat depression, anxiety, ED, OCD, ADD, lactose intolerance, incontinence, and restless leg syndrome. Our products are 100% authentic and non-toxic. We thoroughly neutralize the acidity of all kaiju remains to ensure they're completely safe for your consumption. So don't wait one more minute. End your suffering, enhance your life, and be the best you can be before we all become extinct. Call, click, or look for your kaiju symbol at your local black market today.
Welcome to Vassals of Kingsgrave. This is a review for Guillermo del Toro's new movie, Pacific Rim. I'm Vic. I go by as Fortytwo on the forums. Joining me for this podcast are Bina007
Hey everyone.
and Lord Mandobly.
Hey guys.
Hey, so if this podcast were Jaeger, we would be Crimson Typhoon, right?
No way. I want to be Cherna Alpha. They're the best part of the movie.
But it's like the oldest Jaeger ever. So
Exactly. Come on, that dude with the bleached hair and the black beard, that is amazing. I'm 100% doing that for Halloween some year.
Got it.
I expected so much from those two Jaegers, the Crimson Typhoon and that, but this is a spoiler-free podcast, so we'll do a bit of spoilers at the end, but we'll try to be spoiler-free. So if you want to know what happened to the Crimson Typhoon and the Russian Jaeger, go watch
Cherna
the
Alpha.
movie. Cherno Alpha.
Which does not make any sense as a name. That just means Black Alpha.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like a very weird choice.
Okay.
Um,
Let's get started.
right.
So if this movie were a kaiju, what class would it be? Bina?
I think this movie would be kaiju class 2.5 to 3. I guess kaiju class 3. Let me be generous. Is
What's the highest rank of kaiju?
it 5?
We've seen 5.
Okay, I want to give it like 10.
Ah, a
This was like
10.
one of my favorite movies kind of ever. It's so like fun. I don't know. I don't know. Yes, it has many flaws and issues and stuff, but it's the first time in a long time I went to see a blockbuster and it was every bit as much like ridiculous fun as the trailer made it look like.
Mm-hmm. I would say I would give it a class 5 too. It's like this. This movie was like tailor made for me, it's like I was bred for this movie or something. I was bred to enjoy this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just,
definitely has flaws, but kind of it's like the thing, you can't have. There cannot be a perfect movie. It's gonna always have a flaw in it, and this is like the closest to the thing.
Like I went into it sort of feeling like it was going to be kind of like Clash of the Titans. Did any of you see that? Where like all the trailers looked really cool, but honestly, I would rather watch the Clash of the Titans trailer on loop for the length of time the movie took than watch the movie ever again.
Yeah.
Because that movie was basically the worst thing I ever saw. It was slow torture. And this was like so much fun. I don't know. I really loved it.
I mean, I would say I don't think I'm the target demographic for this movie. I think this is not the movie that you take your wives and girlfriends to, potentially.
Your IQ may be a few points too high.
No, I think it's just a gender thing. I think that boys like to see kind of cool, badass robots beat up alien blobs.
No, this movie did do a really good job of handling gender.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No,
like,
I totally appreciate that.
Yeah, no, as a matter of like handling gender, handling race, and handling like a lot of things. Like this was like much better than the Game of Thrones television show. Which, truthfully, that's not really a metric at all. But, like, much better than, like, a lot of stuff. I don't remember the last movie. Like, I certainly don't remember the last blockbuster movie that was like that had a female lead who was badass and wasn't just like a prop for the male lead and had like lots of people of different backgrounds where that was just part of it and wasn't like, oh no, don't forget he's the random Asian dude. It's like, like, I don't know, it was good. I really loved it. I'm incoherent, but people on Tumblr talk about that all the time, and I'm trying to remember what they say.
But you can criticize it as well, though. You can say that the movie is a bit of a liberal kind of wish fulfillment fantasy insofar as it handles race and sex so politically correctly that the way in which we're going to defeat the aliens is to find the better aspects of our nature and trust in our neighbors. And even like the whole concept of the Jaeger, that two people have to come together. You could argue that that's just some kind of, liberal fantasy. And even there's like a throwaway line where they say that one of the reasons why the aliens had come out when they did is that we'd so degraded our Earth's environment. Yeah. So you could say that it handles it well, or you can say that it's politically quite charged. I mean, I liked it. I like the fact that the female lead doesn't get her kit off and appear in a bikini. But then again, maybe that speaks to the movie's terrible box office. Maybe that's what the target demographic wants, is the Danny type person from Song of Ice and Fire who gets her kid off and
honestly, fuck the target demographic. That was a great movie. I don't know. And Del Toro's he's a smart guy. Like he knows. I imagine he knew exactly how the movie would do. Honestly, I think the studio didn't, but he's not an idiot.
Oh no, God, let me please express my full respect for Del Toro. I think he's an amazing filmmaker, and Pan's Labyrinth is probably the best film of this millennium.
I mean, I feel that the Marco storyline fell a bit short. I mean, so the entire Marco storyline takes place during the half of the movie, and it was definitely very interesting. And I thought this was gonna go somewhere, and she ends up in a Jaeger eventually. But when they are in the Jaeger, it's basically Raleigh, the other guy, who's kind of shouting out, giving orders, kind of doing the direction. And it kind of felt, what's Marco doing there,
Well, she is inexperienced. Like she's never, but once they're really in it, it's teamwork.
I kind of side a bit with Vic on this. I think Mako's very infantilized, which is partly to do with her backstory. And I guess we shouldn't reveal that because this is a spoiler-free episode. But, it's part of the story that she's very much seen as a little girl. And there's this one classic scene where... How old is she
supposed to be? Wait, how old is she supposed to be?
Well, the Kaiju war has been going on for 5 years now. Raleigh has been 15 years old, so Raleigh is probably like 23 years old or something. And Marco, I mean, people see in the trailer, she's the girl with the red shoe in the trailer. So she was probably 12 or something. So Marco is probably 19 or something. Correction, it is the 12th year of the Kaiju Wars. The Kaiju first emerged in 2013 and the movie is set in 2025, making Raleigh 27 years old and Marco 22 to 24 years old.
Yeah, like I feel like that's like...
Yeah, some pretty young. I mean, the actress looks a bit older. Definitely, she's probably 25s or 30s, but the character she's playing...
I'm terrible at guessing ages, but I think that that's something that's kind of important. I think she's supposed to be you're right. I think there is an element of that, but it's sort of like that's a mistake on other people's part, not necessarily an oversight. Like it's what's Idris Elba's name? Stoker?
Stackhouse, Pentecost.
Stacker.
Well, you can call him Marshall Pentecost. We'll just call him Marshall.
Marshall. Yeah, well, Marshall, it's a mistake of his that he's infantilizing her, and he sort of realizes that in the end. And then
but everybody does it. Like when the kind of douchebag Australian guy's being all rude in the corridor, immediately the Raleigh sort of leaps to her defense and starts beating up the douchebag. And it's like something out of Karate Kid. Hey, you picked on my girl. I'm going to beat you up now.
That's like, for me, I really enjoyed watching that fight, but it's a very weird moment in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I found it was like out of some kind of 1980s teenage romantic action film. And actually a lot of this film, in terms of it's quite simplistic kind of sexual politics or just the way in which characters interact, just struck me as like Top Gun. It was really back in the days of very kind of rah-rah.
It's very simplistic military. Though I don't know, you definitely get the feel for like Mako's tough. Like she couldn't absolutely take care of herself. She's just not going to get in a fight with some rando for no reason.
Oh yeah, and it's not. Yeah, you're right. So Mako herself is just awesome balls. It's all the other guys who are making mistakes about the fact that she needs defending. After all, we've seen this chick beat Raleigh up with a stick, right? So she doesn't need him to fight her battles for her.
Yeah, it sort of says something interesting, more almost about just like about people like Raleigh. Like he's a nice guy. He's sort of empty. Though it's interesting how they have a main male character whose strength is like emotional intelligence. Like that's interesting.
Yeah, I like the sequence where they found partners. In order to pilot the Jaeger together, they need to be compatible, and by compatible they mean combat style compatibility, that one guy can't be better than the other too much. And so what they do is they have these practice matches between the people, and if they can score the equal number of hits on the same guy, or equal number of hits on each other, they're considered Jaeger compatible. And that was a pretty cool fight, seeing Mako and Raleigh go at each other. It's the same thing with Superman. The female villains was also pretty good. Here we have Mako. In Wolverine, we also have a very strong female lead, a female character
two
too.
of them actually.
Excellent.
Yeah, two. And again, actually, there's one that you think is going to be quite weedy and pathetic.
No,
but actually, she turns out to have some chops too. So
yeah, she does.
Yeah.
Cool.
I also love the minor character. I love the two Russian people a lot. But like,
really, we don't actually see a lot of them, right?
Well, I just think
they don't do anything but look awesome.
They look really awesome too. But
even the Chinese, like when we were introduced to the kind of the 3-person piloted Chinese, whatever it's called, the red shirts, and I thought, oh my god, these guys are going to be awesome in action, but we don't really see much of them either.
Yeah.
All right, without spoiling anything, there's a moment where it looks like there's about to be an accident in the facility, and not saying why, but this accident, everyone's sort of watching something, and then it looks like there's about to be something bad happening, and the two Russians are standing right in front of something that's about to explode. You guys know what I'm talking about, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they start walking away, and there's just like, this is probably one of those things, like I saw a GIF set of this on Tumblr. This is certainly one of those things where someone took a teeny little clip and blew it up into something ridiculous, but it was something that I thought was kind of fun. It's a personal headcanon, but like as they walk, the man starts to walk away, and I can't remember if they're siblings or if they're married. I think they're married. And she just like turns and just like looks at the thing, and it's this sort of like, I could like stare down this explosion, but I'm gonna walk away just because because I can choose to. It's like I don't know. It's why I like them, because they're cool.
Yeah, that scene was that was a very cool scene. I mean, I have to say, every kind of shot, every angle, every they were also picturesque. I mean, you guys seen the trailers, you guys know what I'm talking about. Like just the way they introduced Mako, her walking out in the rain with an umbrella, pretty scenic stuff here.
Yeah, it's beautifully designed and very deliberately framed. It's like Del Toro cares about every single part of every single frame that he shoots. And the detail, like just some of the scenes when you go into the sort of the downtown black market area of Hong Kong, and the sheer volume of detail, the richness of, you just get the energy and the excitement and the sort of danger of that marketplace. It's just beautiful. You could just blow up frames of this movie and just have them as massive wallpaper. It's lovely.
Yeah, I like that it's set in Hong Kong. I mean, I did not realize how American Superman was until the Superman movie, until I kind of went around, looked at the comics, and this is definitely a very international movie. I mean, who saved the day at the end of it? Was it the Aussies? Was it the Russians? Was it the Chinese? Was it the Japanese? Who saved the world at the end of the day? And
clearly it was the British guy stack of Pentecost.
It's just Idris Elba single-handedly.
Exactly. And I fully believe that if aliens ever do invade this planet, all we need to do is ring up Idris Elba, he will save the day, because Idris Elba just drips
the apocalypse.
Authority.
Shall we talk about the pep talk? How would you guys rank?
That's my other
talk?
British show I watch. I watch Luther.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, the thing about Idris Elba is, like, you don't even need to get to the pep talk. When in a moment of emotional sort of excitement, Raleigh just like grabs his shoulder to like get his attention, and Stacker Pentecost is like, "Don't ever touch me again."
He goes, "Do not touch me. First of all, do not touch me. Second of all, do not ever touch me."
It's so badass. That's probably the single most badass scene of this year.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to get a scale, compare it with other coach pep talks, and I went around, saw a bunch of clips on YouTube, and this canceling the apocalypse thing. I don't think it's the lines per se; it's seeing him in the suit. You guys have to watch the movie for this because you don't see him. He's not a Jaeger pilot, and circumstances lead him to becoming to pilot one of the Jaegers because something happens to the other pilots. So when you see him, this guy staying in the back, giving orders, you see the general on the field, and you do feel it. Oh man, this is it. The general's on the battlefield. He's on the front line, and when he gives his speech, it really peps you up.
It does.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
But it's entirely what he's about. He's entirely about other people's perceptions of him, and he's a man with such selflessness. Like, he's gonna be whatever he needs to be to inspire everyone around him and keep this ragtag rebel alliance together, in the words of Star Wars.
I think that's why they use titles like Marshal and stuff. It gives it this kind of like Western vibe that I really like.
Yeah, or even his name, right? Stacker Pentecost is the most absurd name. And when I first heard it, I thought, no character can ever live up to that name. And yet he just embodies it so fully.
It really does.
Yeah, I'm all about the Idris, as you can tell. I'm going to stop now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm now glad that they did not actually cast him as Zarazon Daxus. Well, we don't want to spoil Game of Thrones here, though, but they don't really treat well Zarazon Daxus
He's my
in the
dream
TV
casting
show.
from Makoro, though.
Ah, okay.
Who, sorry?
Makoro.
The Red Priest.
Oh, yeah. That would be awesome balls.
Yeah, we do hope we see him in
I have
Game
no
of
idea if
Thrones
the
somehow.
description of Makoro is at all similar to Idris Elba, but I do not care.
I want to see Idris Elba in Game of Thrones in some capacity or other. I don't care who he is. He just needs
I'd be
to be
happy
in
with
that
him as
show.
like Victarion Greyjoy. Like, I don't give a shit as long as he's in the show.
Yeah, there's enough black characters who are played by white people, so we can do that.
Just throw him in there and refuse to explain it.
Yeah. I mean, like, seriously, if race wasn't an issue, can you imagine him being so charismatic and awesome as Mance Rayder?
Yeah, he'd be great at being Mance Rayder.
Better than Kieran Hines, anyway.
Kieran Hines is a little bit too, like, Caesar-y. You need to be more, like, charming and mellow.
I think Cold Hands is a very unrace specified character we have left. Probably. I'll take him as Cold Hands.
Yeah, he could do cool stuff with anything. He's the best.
Yes. Okay.
All right, so let's talk about some of the mellower, funnier characters.
Yeah, I like how how they did the comic relief, and this is how they should have done it in Superman also. If you did not want, I mean, made sense here. You don't want Raleigh and Marco and even Stacker Pentecost to joke around, right? I mean, you want them to be serious there. They are in a very serious situation. And so they added all these side characters, Charlie Day from It's Sunny in Philadelphia, Dr. Herman, he's played by Burns Gorman. You see him in a ton of movies, as a character actor from a ton of movies.
I love both of them.
Yeah.
And then Ron Perlman as well.
Oh, Ron Perlman, yeah. I think that's definitely a comic character than a villain character, right?
Yeah. He's the best.
But I love Charlie Day. To me, he was kind of like the Rick Moranis in Ghostbusters character.
Yeah,
just visually, he was hilarious. And Bern Gorman, he's a bit like Benedict Cumberbatch, isn't he? He's one of these people whose face you immediately recognize.
But it's so weird.
He did so well. I mean, like, there's a scene where he tries to shake his hands, and like he has some kind of a OCD or something. So he like starts patting on the hands, and eventually turns into a handshake.
Well, he's just so British. So they're playing Burn Gorman as the very, very British, tweedy, doesn't know what to do with this kind of loudmouth American counterpart. And so again, what's so lovely about this movie is it's all about the two sides coming together. So, you've got to have Dr. Newton and Dr. Herman have to work together to save the world. And they do kind of come to a bit of a friendship by the end, which is really sweet.
Yeah. Charlie Day.
You can edit that out if I spoiled the movie, by the way.
No, you didn't. I will stick.
Charlie Day, I feel like always has this really I feel like he has very good charisma in some way. I don't know. He's just fun.
Yeah.
It was. The Charlie Day thing was very interesting because I only know him from Sunny in Philadelphia, and in Sunny of Philadelphia, he plays a very dumb character who's illiterate or something.
Yeah.
And he was playing a scientist, and somehow I was never kind of I don't see this guy as being smart, because the way he plays smart is being dumb. He's smart, but stupid in the same way.
I just feel that he's us in the movie. He's the kind of geeky fanboy. He's the guy who walks into the black market sort of alien fest. And it's like, oh my God, this is so cool. You've got this and you've got this. It's like, oh my God, you've got the special edition, German edition of that comic, and you've got a perfect, edition 61 of, so he's the guy we can all relate to. And the line when he meets the Ron Perlman sort of badass Chow, and he says, I'm not going to tell you what I need this for because it's classified, so I couldn't tell you. But it's really cool. So you know what? I'm going to tell you because it's just so awesome.
Yeah, I really like that.
So to me, he's the fanboy. He's the geeky guy who on a Saturday night's podcasting about sort of gaijin parasites. He's one of us.
His kaiju tattoos are also really cool.
Yeah, this is true.
I think the other scientist that Dr. Herman calls him a kaiju groupie.
Yeah,
exactly.
So Beena, tell us, so what was missing, or what did the movie do wrong? What kept it away from being a 5 out of 5 for you?
Well, you know how you said you were born for this movie because, I don't know, you tell us why you were born for this movie after I finish it.
As a kid, we got cable TV pretty late in the day. I was 10 or something when we got cable TV, and one of the shows on there was Force 5, which was a series of anime, but they were all mecha anime. For the longest time, I thought all Japanese animes had robots in them. So I grew up watching Robotech. I grew up watching Guy King. I grew up watching Grandizer, UFO. And then later on Gurren Lagann and Evangelion. So robots and stuff like that, robot jocks, things like that. I love those movies. So this movie was perfect. Like the it had all the elements that you see in those cartoons, like the progression, like one creature after other, they just become harder and harder with new sets of skills, but your hero robot stays the same, and they have to beat it using creative ways. And right at the nick of the moment, they pull out the secret weapons or something. Oh yeah, I didn't know the robot could do that. Oh yeah, I didn't know that could do that. And they pull it out and.
You mean the robot has a sword?
That robot sword was amazing.
When they were using the ship, the tanker as a sword, I was like, oh, probably in the next battle they'll use a sword, and bam, and she pulls it out right at there and then says, for my family.
It's really funny listening to you talk about it because I've heard a lot of interviews with Del Toro talking about his childhood, watching lots of anime and mecha and just loving it. And he sounds kind of as excited as you did just then recounting it and mentioned a lot of the same titles. So I think you are the ideal super fan for this movie.
I mean, he pulls out his punch and says, activate rocket shoulder arm or something. I was like on the edge of my seat, then yes, you go, Raleigh.
So I almost like the movie better now because I'm getting excited hearing you talk about it. But I didn't grow up watching mecha anime. And I've had so many bad experiences at the movies with things like Transformers and then that awful Cowboys versus Aliens mashup film.
That was
Jon
bad.
Favreau. So I look at this movie being advertised and I'm just seeing Transformers versus Aliens. and it's just not and it's not resonating with me. And if it didn't have Del Toro directing it, because I love Pan's Labyrinth and I love the Hellboy films, I wouldn't have given it a second glance. And so I gave it 2.5 to 3 Gaiju class or lemon cakes, just because it looks amazing. I mean, the production design's just stunning.
Yeah, it's real.
So that gives it 2 all by itself. And then I give it another whole Gaiju class just for the sheer badassery of Idris Elba. But I withhold the final 2 because honestly, I'm going to sound like such a Grinch. After I got over my awe and wonder at how amazing it looked, the final hour of the film, I was just so bored, battle after battle. And then, I'm not going to we can discuss in the spoiler thing why I found the final battle quite boring, but it's just, and there was this point where I was squirming in my seat looking at my watch thinking, it's just because I'm a girl, isn't it? It's just because I don't care about robots.
That may be it.
So I agree that if I need to watch shiny robots like beat each other up, I agree that this is probably one of the better movies, but it's just not shaking my tree, I'm afraid.
That's totally reasonable.
Yeah, for me, I thought we have too few battle scenes.
No, I could have watched another hour of that movie.
10-minute movie.
I think they are making a sequel and/or prequel.
I hope so.
Yeah.
But this movie took no money.
It did in the international, I think.
For the longest time, I was pissed that Grown Ups 2 was doing better than this movie, because in the US, both Grown Ups 2 and this came out at the same time.
I don't even want to talk about that.
And Grown Ups 2 made 90 million, and this made 70 million at the last time I saw. But then I looked into it. Internationally, Grown Ups 2 made 9 million, and this movie made 107 million or something.
Actually, at this point, it's up to 190.
Yeah, so this movie is up there now, so that's pretty cool.
I think the thing to remember about this movie is, for Del Toro, I think it's a really ballsy move, because there are no real A-list stars in it. As much as I'm in love with Idris Elba, there aren't famous actors in this. They're all basically from TV. So Idris Elba wasn't famous enough to play Django in Django Unchained. That's kind of why he lost that part.
He would have been great as Django.
He would have been so awesome in Django.
I mean,
actually,
when
I was bored in the second half of this film, I was basically thinking about, I was rerunning Django Unchained with Idris Elba in it in my head.
That would be fun to watch. Though I do really like Jamie Foxx, I will say.
Yeah. So basically, you have Idris Elba, you've got Charlie Hunnam, who's basically famous from a TV show in the US and a TV show in the UK, but no real film credits. You've got Rinko, who's basically famous for a couple of movies, again, art house, like Babel. You've got, who else is in it? You've got, what's really weird for British people is the Aussie douchebag is actually a guy who's really famous in the UK for playing a douchebag on a UK soap opera with a very strong East London accent. Like the geekiest ginger kid, like the unloved ginger stepchild. And then you see him reincarnated as the super buff Aussie. Like, what?
He's in True Blood now.
Is he?
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
By the way, was the accents convincing? We got Charlie Hunnam, born in Britain, have an American accent, and then we got the Aussie guy, another British actor.
I didn't think they were convincing at all. I
thought
the
they
Aussie
were
accent.
almost bad, right? I mean, they were on the verge of being bad.
I mean, Charlie Hunnam's accent kept slipping into something that sounded a bit like Irish, maybe.
Oh, is Charlie Hunnam Raleigh?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, he's not American. I have no idea where he's from, but that is the worst American accent I've ever heard. I feel like maybe, I don't know. I feel like doing a bland, not from a specific locale American accent is not super hard. Like, I also think doing like a bland, general, not from anywhere specifically in Britain accent isn't that hard. You don't have to do it that well to be kind of convincing, because like they're big countries with a lot of people, so there's a lot of open space to like mess around with an accent, and it'll still technically be American or British or something, and yet he still managed to fuck it up.
The Australian accent was also pretty poor, I have to say. I mean, I know a lot of Australians very well, and it just kept slipping. I don't know what he was doing with that. So it's a real shame. You would have thought they would be able to find a good Australian actor, and or just let Charlie Hunnam play it as a Brit.
The only American actor I think, among the Jaeger pilots was the guy who played the Aussie guy's father, and he's an American actor, and they gave him an Aussie accent.
Actually, his accent was really convincing. I really thought he was Australian. And I spent a lot of the movie wondering why the younger guy hadn't studied better with the father actor. So
Well,
that's impressive.
yeah. Well, the guy's lines were all very short, kind of, right? So, well, yeah, the kid had more lines, I think.
Maybe, but interesting casting choice.
Are you just
Definitely.
upset that Britain didn't get a Jaeger?
No, because we don't need. How can we not get a Jaeger? We had Stacker Pentecost. Let me once again remind you that the reason we're still talking to each other right now is because we saved the world, and by we I mean Idris Elba.
Maybe his was the British one.
Yes. Oh dear.
Yeah,
He's also
I mean,
a Londoner, so it's kind of like London saved your asses.
Yeah, only London, single-handedly.
Exactly. No, I mean, I'm going quite against the moral of the story, which is that the United Nations saved our
Well, actually,
collective.
like the moral of the story is that the United Nations betrayed everybody, and that Idris Elba saved everyone.
Yeah, but can I now ask a question, which I don't think is a spoiler one? Idris Elba, right, gets basically sacked by the UN with 8 months of funding, and he amasses enough kind of old Jaegers and enough people to basically run on the side a rebellion against the aliens. And there's this one line about how did you get hold of all this stuff? And he's like, oh, yeah, we've got the Russians. They can get me anything I need on the black market. But you're kind of like, where did you get the money to fund this stuff?
I have two theories about that. One, the Russians would probably give them a discount because the Russians love undermining international bodies.
Yeah, but even then, like,
But
you
no,
need a
but-
lot of money.
yeah, it was from the Ron Perlman. He said he gave him exclusive rights to salvage the kaiju stuff, and
that got
a
them
bone
some money.
powder, kaiju bone powder, a pound sells for $500. So that's a lot of money.
Okay, so it's illegal black market money.
But I think it's also, I'm sure they have some UN budget left. Because like, think about this. There is an American like research lab that gets $6 million a year to work on faster than light travel. Like if you multiply the size of the budget to like United Nations, like the whole planet, like even the dude they've semi-fired and aren't really using anymore is going to have a budget with enough money to get some stuff done. Like even they're like, here, this is the like change that we have left over, like take it, will be enough to like plus illegal crime, enough to keep them running, I think.
Okay, so if I give you guys a free pass on that one, I'm still not entirely convinced, but anyways.
You do understand economics slightly better than we do, though.
Well, this is how bored I was in the second hour of the film. I was thinking, isn't it interesting how in history all the major financial capitals are on water because they used to be ports? So this kind of Pacific Rim style attack would be really damaging to finance because you take out London, New York, Shanghai,
the Pacific Ocean, not the Atlantic
Tokyo,
Ocean.
Hong Kong, like the major financial capitals. So I'm assuming like global economics have died. So I don't know where this.
No, do remember it's Pacific Rim. The void is only in the Pacific Ocean, so I would imagine the only places that have been
that still
damaged.
takes out that you take out Tokyo, Hong Kong, Sydney, and Shanghai.
Oh yeah, but I just mean like London.
Markets this is going to make Lehman Brothers look like a tea party, right?
Oh God, yeah.
Basically, international finance is not happening. Interbank crunch. This is how bored I was in the second part of this movie.
Well, you have to do you have to suspend
this.
disbelief for this movie a bit. I mean, are Jaegers the perfect means of fighting? I mean, I would have imagined rockets and missiles would be a better way of going
they
at
had
it.
to mess with the gravity in order to make the Jaegers make sense. It's completely psychotic from a physics perspective.
Okay. But let me just finish on my one final mini rant. So assuming that despite all this financial chaos, he still has enough money to run this thing. And I'm fully prepared to believe that Idris Elba is just so freaking charismatic he can pull it off. There's this one line where the Jaegers are attacking Hong Kong where he says, evacuate the city. I want all the civilians out of there. And I'm like, by what authority do you evacuate the city? You're like a renegade. You're not the guy who gives that order. That makes no sense.
And the part about, hey, why would all the kaiju attack Hong Kong? I mean, why wouldn't they just say, hey, all the Jaegers are in Hong Kong, right? Let's just go attack San Francisco again, or let's attack Seattle or something.
Oh no, but isn't that because they wanted that Charlie Day character?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Wait, I have a theory about Hong Kong.
Okay.
Taken from my almost boundless ability to rationalize things that happen in movies. My theory is that basically the Chinese government is sort of like, honestly, like Hong Kong is untenable as a place we can protect. in this apocalypse world, because the addition to the wall idea is that there's like a 300-mile buffer zone as well, which gives them enough time to like blow shit up with conventional military means. So basically, I think it's sort of like maybe they've just abandoned Hong Kong.
And
Like,
also, it appears
not-
like Hong Kong is very close to the breach.
Yeah, it definitely seems to me that Hong Kong's a place that has been sort of abandoned, but people didn't really want to evacuate, so those who stayed are under the Jaegers' care.
Okay, so it's like Heaven's Gate. I get it.
Yeah.
But I still thought it was just implausible. And I realize that it's a world in which, like, giant robots are killing aliens.
I mean, those robots couldn't even move, really. Neither could the kaiju.
But they're like big Cylon toasters, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And they also, like, have underwater and kind of aerospace kind of...
Yeah, no.
Yeah, this is the ass-pull thing we talk about with these robots. That's common with the genre. How is he gonna stop? How is he gonna stop? And suddenly this big thing in the middle of his chest is a rocket.
It's really best not to think about it too hard.
Yeah, let's not talk about it.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think that's one of the things that make this movie fun, it's those things. Oh no, how are they gonna do this? Wait a minute, we forgot about the coolant on our back or something.
Yeah.
So it's deliberately rubbish is what you're telling me.
Yeah, like if you read an article about how they filmed it, like in order for any of it to make sense, they have to alter the CGI for the computer. They have to alter the gravity in the simulations they run. Like because real gravity just makes it impossible for these things to work.
Yeah.
And like
I mean, all those sparkles or water droplets and particle effects, they have to put real world parameters in, so they appear to behave the same way.
Yeah.
That said, you know what? I want to give some praise now to Del Toro, because as you can tell, I'm not like an aficionado of like massive big budget action blockbuster fight scenes. But given that he's basically trying to communicate that there are two people inside a robot who are together mind melding and controlling it, I always felt that and then you've got the massive scale of these two things fighting, often at night and in pouring rain or underwater. It's always really clear and easy to follow the action, and not all action blockbusters are like that. I mean, it sounds obvious that in an action movie you should be able to follow the fight scenes, but you'd be amazed how often that isn't the case. But I always knew exactly where everything was in relation to everything else, and the kind of emotional stakes of what was going on with the guys inside as well, which I think is a big achievement.
Yeah, I think
there's so much
I would
happening.
agree.
It could easily just become loud and shouty and bangy and pointless, right?
I think this is one of the reasons why I never really liked the Transformer movies, because it's not really too different from this movie anyway, but it's really hard to connect with the alien robot, and one of them can't even talk, one of them can only talk through its radio or something, and the only characters you are left to connect with is Shia LaBeouf and Megan Fox.
They're more lifeless than the robots.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Harsh, but fair.
I feel like what it comes down to is that for me, this movie is the perfectly constructed blockbuster. It's fun, it's exciting, it's well done. It's not the deepest of movies. It's not like the most plausible either, but it's really, for me at least, like a lot of joy to watch.
To me, it plays like a kid's movie insofar as the characters are all quite simplistic. The good guys and the bad guys, and nothing happens that's at all unexpected. The big, so to say, character reveals are just really obvious from the start. And it is enjoyable in a simplistic manner. I just feel that I would have, if this movie had been 90 minutes, given that level of simplicity, I would have been happy. But 2 hours and 10 just felt a bit long for me. But I know that's just, it's being a girl, I know.
Bina, have you ever seen the terrible Idris Elba movie Takers?
No, I haven't.
It's this awful heist movie that Chris Brown is in.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and it's like, it's probably the worst movie I've ever seen, and except for maybe Battlefield Earth. It's bad.
Okay. I'm going to just ignore the fact that exists then.
It's for the best, probably. It upsets me that Idris Elba was in it.
I also have a sort of personal thing where I try not to fund wife beaters and Scientologists.
Yeah, Chris Brown is the worst.
So I don't watch Tom Cruise movies, and I wouldn't watch a Chris Brown movie on that basis.
They were going to cast Tom Cruise to be Idris Elba.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus
I'm
Christ. They
glad
were
they
going to
did that.
replace a 6'3" lion of a man with a
Well, I
short,
mean, it's more the opposite. It's more like
closeted Scientologist.
he was their initial
Right.
thought, and then they're like, "This is stupid. Let's do someone awesome instead."
Probably someone cheaper as well. I mean, can you
Yeah.
imagine the special effects budget on this thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's see. Shall we talk about our spoiler stuff before we go on to our games and other things?
No, let's do the games first, and then we can sort of go into spoilers and degenerate into a gibberishy after talk.
Okay.
I was playing my goddaughter the A-Team TV show this morning.
Yeah.
And within like 5 minutes, she was calling her kid brother. Like she was saying to him, "Stop that jibber jabber, fool!" And it was just hilarious because she's like this like very prim and proper little English girl. It's hilarious. Sorry,
That sounds like
it
fun.
just makes me realize that I need to use the words jibber jabber and gibberish more in everyday language.
Yeah, they're the best words.
So
Especially with
this
a cool accent.
so this is a twist on our so marry one night or kaiju.
Okay, I'll ask you guys because the first one's a woman. Vic, Mako, marry, one night, or kaiju?
Definitely marry, I think. Yeah. If that's the biggest baggage she has, I can handle that.
I kind of think one night she's like I feel like she's like so used to drifting with other people that you'd never actually be able to like be very close.
It's true, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
how far does drifting become almost a form of cheating? Like,
Yeah,
would
you
it
could
be
never-
threatening to your relationship if someone's got such an intimate relationship with someone else?
Yeah.
Good point. Good point.
I think there's only one other female character, and it's the Russian.
Okay, do you want to do one night marry or kaiju with a Russian chick?
I would marry both of the Russians, despite their utter lack of characterization. They're just so cool.
I didn't get anything from the Russians at all.
Yeah.
Wait a minute,
I
aren't you the guy who's like going to Russia for like 3 months at the end of this year?
yeah, I'm going to St. Petersburg at the end of August.
Okay, cool. Excellent. I predict Lee comes back with the Russian missus.
Right. Yeah. I'm sad. I'm not going to be on the forums for a long time.
The forums aren't there for you not to be on them. So.
I know. They're not going to come back. I'm going to come back and they're going to be different.
Oh, and are you worried that people aren't going to give you the respect you deserve as sort of Lord Paramount commenter?
I don't know. If I'm gone for 4 months, maybe. Maybe all these new people will join. No one will know who I am.
Oh,
Scary.
What percentage of your self-esteem do you think is bound up with your position on the forums?
Roughly 95%. You guys will have to keep up my legend.
Oh, we will. We'll talk about you in hushed tones. You'll be like, in Song of Ice and Fire, how people refer back to these legendary events and everyone gets the story slightly wrong. That'll be
I could
you.
be like Summer Hall.
Yeah, you'll be like Summerhall. Everyone's heard of him, but no one really knows what went down.
I love it.
Or we'll make you a new Poe fight for you or something like that.
So,
Randomly fight.
We need to have a Poe fight. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so you're going to marry the Russian chick, probably
Yep.
maybe in real life too.
All right,
Idris
well,
Elba.
Yeah, I would still marry him. How about you?
I would marry Idris Elba in a heartbeat. And this is for reals. Idris, if you're listening, I will marry you. Get in touch. Beana007.com.
He is the coolest.
Vic, how do you feel about Idris?
Yeah, it's hard, He's a tough boss, so he's a tough boss. And he was being so protective of Marco. Yeah, it's hard.
You wouldn't want him to be your father-in-law, would you? I mean,
Yeah.
Or your girlfriend's big brother. That would be some kind of
No,
nightmare.
that would be worse.
Raleigh?
Not really my type.
Mhm.
Idris Elba's the only one of the guys cool enough I'd marry him.
Not even one night? I mean, Raleigh's pretty buff.
Yeah. I don't know. You have to be pretty special. I have high standards. What can I say?
Vic, how do we feel about Raleigh?
Yeah, he's hard to. I mean, I have to. Yeah, I would say marry too. Yeah, I would say marry. Yeah.
So plaintive. I would say
Yeah.
one night with Raleigh because he's buff but stupid.
What about Dr. Newton?
Oh, definitely marry, right? I mean, he's fun to be around.
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
I don't want to marry him or have one night with him, but I do want to go and get very drunk with the guy. I think he'd be hilarious to go for a night out on the tiles with.
Okay, that would be really fun.
Just get into all sorts of mischief with the guy. Karaoke, table football, clubbing at 3 a.m. in Berlin. That guy would be awesome.
What about Dr. Herman, your fellow Brit?
Yeah, with the German name. Very suspicious. God, I think kind of kaiju, right? I mean, he's just so geeky and math. He's such a math mo. The only advantage of marrying him is your kids would be like freaking geniuses. But nah, and like the way he couldn't even figure out to do the handshake thing with Dr. Newton, you're just thinking that guy's so like maladapted physically. He's not going to be any good in bed either, is he?
No, I can't imagine.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine living with this guy. He's going to be the most annoying roommate ever with his OCD. No kaiju guts on my side of the floor or something.
Exactly. Oh, poor Ben Gorman. He's so sweet. He's there's a British BBC version of Dickens' Bleak House where he plays the lawyer Guppy, who's in love with one of the female characters in this sort of like pathetic, hopeless way, and he's so sweet. But no, not in this movie.
He's good in Torchwood too.
Yeah. I mean, he's an amazing actor, right? But no to Dr. Herman.
His IMDb credits say that he was in a couple of episodes of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, he's the guy who kills Craster.
Yeah.
Oh, that was him?
Yeah.
Oh no.
Such a waste of such a good actor. He should have had a much bigger part than that.
He should have. Though his one line was great.
And if Game of Thrones had been age appropriate, like people had been cast to their age, he would have been quite an interesting Littlefinger, I think. He can play dastardly plotters quite well.
He would be good. Though I don't know if he could be as charming as Littlefinger is.
True.
Yeah, I wish they did not bring him in. I wish they kept him for like one of the shave baits or something like that.
Yeah.
This feels like a schemy character, right? So a shave bait.
Oh my God, he could be Kevin Lannister.
They have
You already have a Kevin.
He's just really bland. All right, what about the Aussies?
Okay, you've got both of them.
Oh, the son Kaiju, definitely.
Are you the one who described him as the a-hole Aussie?
Yeah. I didn't even know his name. I had to like look it up about Chuck Hansen, and I was like, nobody's gonna know who Chuck Hansen is. So a-hole Aussie.
Yeah, I think Kaiju. He's just a douchebag, isn't he? Plus he's ginger.
He is ginger.
But Bina says, what about Hot Aussie Dad?
What about Hot Aussie Dad?
Because you didn't have him on your list, and Hot Aussie Dad I think is worth a mention.
There we go.
So
he's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
He's awesome. He's quite good looking as well in an old man way.
Yeah.
I'm just saying one night with Hot Aussie Dad. I'm just putting that out there.
All right.
Yeah, he didn't look old enough to be his dad. Crap, I don't want to spoil stuff.
You're like a spoiler machine. You really are.
Come on, it's a popcorn movie, Yeah, they saved the day.
Yeah, honestly, if you can't guess the entire plot of this movie 10 minutes in, you should really just go back to school.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that.
Okay, Vic, so what's your verdict on the two Aussies? Is it Gaiji for both?
Kaiju definitely for the father. Kaiju definitely for the son, sorry. Maybe one night with the father or something.
Yeah, I agree with Vic.
Yeah. It was like he was such a, when one of the battles, the robots become not functional and they still keep fighting. They get on the deck, they shoot flare guns at the kaiju and piss him off. That was something.
Cool. So Ron Perlman as Mr. Chow.
Oh, he's awesome. I'd be his trophy wife.
But he would sell you if someone offered him a bunch of gold.
Yes, he definitely would. Still, he has gold shoes.
And he wears sunglasses indoors.
He also does that.
And you have a lifetime supply of kaiju bone powder.
And kaiju shit, which apparently can apparently is great fertilizer for a field for a month.
Kaiju shit is the unobtainium in this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would marry Ron Perlman, and then I would do the middle finger move and kill him and take his fortune.
Ooh, I like it.
Yeah, I'll probably marry him just to get access to his kaiju bunker.
Exactly.
I think that's about it. I think that's took care of all the major characters.
Okay, so I guess we have to do our rants about why your country didn't get your Jaeger.
Our country did get a Jaeger. Boom. Sorry, guys.
So who put LMB? You can do Canada.
Right,
Canada doesn't get a Jaeger because Canada's too cold and Jaegers don't work there. That's my theory. Also, why would the kaijus go to Canada?
For the maple syrup.
Oh, good point. But they'd have to go a long way. The maple syrup's all in the Northeast.
Wrong ocean. That sucks.
Yes, no offense to Canadians.
I
love you all.
You come all the way to Earth in some kind of alternate universe, parallel universe, vortex thing, and you end up in the wrong ocean and you get no maple syrup. That sucks.
Pretty tragic.
It's like you have to like contend with this shitty American butter syrup, and you're just like, what? That makes me angry. Let me now destroy San Francisco.
That's probably exactly their thought process.
That would be my thought process.
Okay, I have to rant about
Vic,
why...
do you want to rant? Yeah, you're going to rant about, like, India not getting a Jaeger.
Right. I mean, if I was a rational person, I would say India is on the Indian Ocean, so, it's too far away. We don't have to, contribute to the war efforts. But still, but I'm not a rational person, so I want to rant about it. So, okay, Del Toro, if in Pacific Rim Part 2 you're not going to have an Indian Jaeger, I promise to not to see your movie in IMAX 3D. I'll still see it on the small screen.
Do you think that's a credible threat, Vic? Do you think that you literally wouldn't go and watch it if there wasn't an Indian Jaeger?
Yeah, if there wasn't an Indian Jaeger, I'm not going to watch your movie in IMAX.
So explain to me, so you said you got cable at 10 and you watched all this anime. So when you get cable in India, is it all coming from Japan then? Like, how come you get so much?
No, it was actually it was the Star Cable Network, so it was the Murdoch thing. So we did have Star TV, not Sky TV or Fox, and I think the transmissions were coming from Hong Kong or something. So
okay.
Yeah, so lots of animes and stuff like that, and so I think it was around 1990s or something. So I was pretty young then.
Cool. Well, Britain doesn't have a Jaeger, and I'm quite pleased about that because we can't build anything for shit. So our Jaeger would have broken down anyway. But, we've exported what we do best, which is, train military officers. And as everybody knows, we train the best. Lots of people around the world come here to be trained. So once again, stack of Pentecost. Need I say any more?
I think the most offensive part of Doctor Who has always been their idea that all American soldiers are the worst people in the universe. And I feel like that is related to what you just said.
Wait, I didn't get that.
I think that you're right that the British military is awesome and Stacker Pentecost is the best, but American generals aren't always evil.
Oh,
we don't think you guys are evil. We just think you're kind of spoiled and incompetent.
Right.
I'll give you an example. Okay, now this is a lot of my family are either in the military or in sort of military aerospace. And one of the classic anecdotes I got from one of my uncles who in the first Gulf War was, he said, the problem with the Americans is they're so used to having enough money for everything that when they get to the desert and the tank breaks down, they think they'll just order a new one. And then they can't do that because it's a war. Whereas in the British Army, when you get to the Gulf and a tank breaks down, because there's like sand caught in between this rivet and that rivet, that's just totally normal because you're used to working with like crappy parts. So you just like take it apart, use a pair of pantyhose and elastic band and put it back together again and carry on towards Baghdad.
That sounds about right.
So I think that's the kind of British military attitude, which is just we have a sort of can do on a small budget attitude, much like our TV actually. But we love Americans. So.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's usually if there's an American general, usually he's the bad guy. Like in the movie Outbreak.
We're always the bad guys.
Yeah, but the American military were the bad guys in the A-Team too. I don't think that's just the British being mean to the American military.
Oh, no.
And I think the American military are the heroes in lots of stuff as well. It's just that, it's a movie, so it's going to be good or bad, and it's not going to have much shade.
True. I mean, I'm not actually offended. It made me think of Doctor Who and how UNIT is always run by like these huge American generals who are like always wanting to nuke stuff for no reason.
But you've got to remember that Doctor Who is very much, even today, it carries in it the DNA of when it was first conceived, which was during the Cold War, and when Britain had basically just been shafted over Suez. So you've got Britain as this former empire power with a real chip on its shoulder that it basically hasn't got the ability to act anymore. So for sure, there's resentment over these kind of blunderbuss Americans with too much money and not enough geopolitical nous. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that you can see that in a lot of British TV today, and no one really understands why now. But it's because it was all set up in the 50s and 60s.
It's part of it's part of the television's DNA.
Absolutely.
So I have to head out fairly soon. But I liked the ending. I thought it was predictable, but I thought the whole movie was kind of predictable, and that's part of it, that it's not necessarily like super complicated. But I still liked it.
Beware of spoilers. So so if you have a few minutes, let's talk about the ending. And this is the only spoiler-filled section of the podcast. So the ending of the movie, if bye to those guys who have not seen the movie, is they carry a nuke. The plan is to carry a nuke through the breach, and
it's a suicide mission. It goes partially
suicide
wrong.
mission, blow it up, and sever the link between the alien world and us. And I think it's just for a movie like this, it's the Trojan horse trick is such a old movie cliche, right? I mean, people have
Star Wars Episode 4, basically.
Star Wars Episode 4, Oblivion just this year.
The Iliad itself, it's the Trojan War.
Yeah, it's just too bad that he couldn't think of anything different.
It is like it would have been fun if it had a really clever one, but it didn't really bother me that much either. I was just like, okay, like it wasn't like the movie left me expecting a clever, tricky ending.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
But did you expect Charlie Hunnam's character Raleigh to die? Because I actually did.
No.
I thought the movie was going to have some balls. I thought, oh my god, it's so cool. He's going to sacrifice himself for the chick.
I mean,
but then he's going to basically die.
The movie was basically PG. Like, he wanted kids to go see it. Like, part of the idea was that it was a movie that, like, 10-year-old Guillermo del Toro could, like, see an ad for and be like, man, this looks amazing, and go see without all this, like, unnecessary, gritty stuff that would have prevented him from seeing it.
Yeah, I agree. And I have to say, I appreciate that. I like the anti-Christopher Nolanization that we can just have a simple movie about good people sacrificing and doing good shit without worrying so much about the psyche and their emo angst. Oh my goodness.
So I would class it as a nitpick and not a major offense, but if there was anybody who could have come up with something new and creative, it would have been this guy.
Like the ending to Pan's Labyrinth is so perfect.
Yeah, she's a.
You might want to warn people that you're spoiling Pan's Labyrinth as well.
Just cut it out.
It's like, what is the Gaiju class score of how many movies Vic can spoil in a podcast?
The answer is
I also have a message from Tedded from the forums who wanted to say two things. Please mention Chinese red shirts and Greg House on crack. Look forward to listening.
What does Greg House on crack mean?
Does that mean that English Tweedy doctor that he thinks that's Greg House on crack?
He thinks that's like him doing a Hugh Laurie. I guess that's kind of no. House is so much meaner.
Yeah, exactly. This guy's just got a soft, lovely, cuddly heart, doesn't he?
Yeah, House doesn't
get a nosebleed for you.
I watched a lot of House. House does not have like a soft, gentle core.
No, and actually, I just want to point out that Idris Elba makes having a nosebleed look cool.
He does. He makes everything look cool.
Before you have to go, can we quickly do some random podcast device fire chat?
I have no idea who Mark Gatiss is going to be. I really hope it's not Mace Terrell. Because I like Mark Gatiss, but he can't play a fat, bumbling idiot. And Mace Terrell is a fat, bumbling idiot.
How about Randall Tarley?
That would be perfect. You're a genius.
Yeah. He's too young to be awesome. Randall Tarley, though, right? I mean...
They can age him up.
And he's definitely cruel enough. I would love that. And Indira Varma's Ilaria Sand makes me so happy.
Why?
I like her. I liked her in Rome. Okay. Yeah. And I also just, like, I'm really glad that, like, at least one of the Dornish people they cast looks like how I imagined the Dornish people looking.
Can I just ask, like, why do you think they're being so secretive about who Mark Gatiss is playing? I mean, they've never done that, I don't recall, with another actor.
No, and it makes me nervous.
It's going
to be a controversial choice?
I don't know, like, who could it be? Like, why wouldn't they announce it?
Yeah, exactly. That's what makes me kind of wonder if something's up, or maybe it's a character that's not normally white and they're just knowing there's going to be some blowback.
It's probably going to be something like Vargo Hood, right? I mean, they got Noah Taylor, and we thought he was going to be playing Vargo Hood, but they created a new character who is like Vargo Hood, but not. So
No,
they
no,
might
no.
do
Because
something
I
with
don't think
Mark
that's
Gatiss
right.
also.
I don't think it's going to be Vargo, because I think that character was Vargo, but they changed him so much that George said, please give him a new name because he's no longer of that race.
Oh yeah, that's what
So-
I meant. I mean, it's going to be an existing character, but a slightly different from the existing character.
Oh, okay.
Just
Okay.
like with the nurse character, you know.
Really?
Are
Yeah,
there any like cool
Talisa.
maesters left? Any dodgy kind of weird ass maesters left?
No, not really.
So basically, Randall Tarley's the front runner.
He could be a Greyjoy, but that doesn't really make sense either.
He wouldn't be Victorian, would he?
He's not big enough,
Let's hope not.
and it's too early for Euron.
Oh, I got it. He's the mountain.
What
Yeah.
about John Connington?
Too early.
Yeah, true. Season 4.
That's it for this week on Vassals of Kingsgrave. Thank you for joining us. Hope we see you again. Bye.
Okay, cool talking with you.
I very much enjoyed this, and Pacific Rim was a fun movie. Glad I got to talk about it with you guys.
Awesome. Have a great day.
Bye, Lee.
See you guys later.
See ya.
Bye.